Kimi no suizo o tabetai by Sumino Yoru, Part 18. Incidentally, just like the yakiniku, the money for the Shinkansen tickets came from her purse. She told me not to mind, but it wouldn't do not to repay her, even if it was at the cost of the dignity of a human like me. While wondering whether it was time to get a part-time job, an orange was shoved right before my eyes. Want some? Thanks. I received the orange and quietly began peeling its skin. You've got no energy at all, huh? Don't tell me you feel like getting off? No, I'm staying on board. For your plans and the Shinkansen too, and I'm reflecting on my decision to do so. What a downer. You've got to be more cheery when traveling. Though it seems more like an abduction than a trip to me. If you're going to keep looking back on yourself, you should just look at me instead. And exactly what do you mean by saying that? Once again, treating my words like the wind, she closed the lid on the railway bento she was done with and tied a rubber band around it. Her nimble hand movements gave off the impression that she was a perfectly alive human being. I discouraged myself from putting into words the contrast between the sense of reality she emanated and the actual reality, and proceeded to silently eat the orange one wedge at a time. She had bought the oranges from a kiosk, but they were unexpectedly sweet and succulent. I took a look outside and saw the rural landscape spread out into the distance, a scene which I normally wouldn't have seen. I spotted a scarecrow in the field, and for some reason, that made me resign myself to the fact that there was no longer any point in resisting. By the way, Get-along-kun, what's your first name? It was a sudden question from the girl comparing local specialties in her travel magazine next to me. Looking at the greenery of the mountains had calmed me down, so I responded to her query straightforwardly. Even though my name wasn't even that unusual, she was nodding her head with great interest, following which she whispered my full name to herself. Wasn't there a novelist with a name like yours? That's right, even though I don't know which one you thought of. Using my own first and last names as a base, two authors came to mind. Could this be the reason you like novels? That's not far off the truth. I did start reading because of that, but I like books because I think they're interesting. So you have the same name as your favorite author? Nope. My favorite is Osamu Dazai. Seemingly somewhat surprised at hearing the name of a literary master, her eyes spread wide open. By Osamu Dazai, you mean the one that wrote No Longer Human? That's right. You like gloomy books like that, huh? It's true that Osamu Dazai's brooding nature comes through the atmosphere of his books, but words can't be dismissed just because they're gloomy, you know? It was rare of me to be speaking so enthusiastically, but she responded with a pout, seemingly disinterested. Well, guess it just doesn't engage me. Looks like you aren't really interested in literature, huh? Yeah, not really. I read manga though. Just like I had expected. It wasn't a matter of good or bad. I just couldn't imagine her patiently reading a novel. Even for manga, if she was at home, she'd probably be reading it while moving around her room and making noises at every little thing. It couldn't be helped that my conversation partner wasn't interested in what I had to say, so I asked her something that I was curious about. Seems like your parents are pretty okay with you traveling. What did you do? I told them that I was traveling with Kyoko. If I told my parents that I had one last thing I wanted to do, they'd most likely agree to it in tears. But as expected of traveling with a boy, I can't tell how they'd react. You're really horrible, huh? Trampling on your parents' feelings. Speaking of which, what about you? What sort of excuse did you give your parents? Since I didn't want to worry my parents, I've been lying to them about having friends, so I told them that I was staying at a friend's house. That's horrible, but how lonesome. But couldn't you say that no one got hurt? She shook her head in dismay and proceeded to retrieve another magazine from the backpack placed next to her feet. What an attitude for the culprit who had forced me to lie to the parents I loved. Seeing that she had engrossed herself with her magazine, I seized the opportunity to conjure a paperback from my sling bag and began to focus on that instead. Worn out by the extraordinary amount of noise she had been making since morning, I wanted nothing but to surrender myself to the story and let my heart be healed. While thinking about things like that, it suddenly dawned upon me that I was practically tempting fate to let her disrupt my peace. It was a certain someone's fault that I had become completely paranoid. Thankfully, my precious time passed without any disturbances. I concentrated on my novel for close to an hour before I reached a good place to stop. It was then that I suddenly became aware of the peace I had managed, but never expected to grasp. I looked to my side to see the girl soundly asleep, magazine resting on her stomach. She didn't wake for the rest of the trip, not even after the Shinkansen had arrived at our station. If I had to say it, it looked as though her short life had ended on the Shinkansen. But the truth was that she was simply impossibly hard to awaken. It wasn't an omen, and it wasn't really a misunderstanding either. I gently poked her cheeks and pinched her nose, but she just groggily moved away and made no signs of waking up. As a last resort, I shot a rubber band in my possession at the back of her defenseless hand. She jumped out of her seat in an overreaction. "You could have just called me awake or something," she said as she punched me in the shoulder, even though I had went through all the trouble to wake her up. Unbelievable. Our first landing. Wow, I can smell ramen. Isn't that just as expected of your imagination? I definitely smell it. Isn't it your nose that's rotten? I'm just grateful that my brain isn't rotten like yours. It's my pancreas that's rotten though. I'm a coward, so let's ban that death blow from now on. It's not fair. While laughing, she said, "What if you made get along good a death blow too?" I didn't have any plans to contract a serious illness in the near future, so I politely turned her down. We took a long escalator down from the platform to a floor where the souvenir shop and the rest area were located. The space seemed to have been newly renovated. It got full marks for cleanliness and left me with a favorable impression. We took another escalator to get to the ground floor, and we finally reached the ticket gates. An unexpected sensation assaulted me the moment I stepped out, so much that I doubted my own senses. Like she had said earlier, I could smell ramen. Amazing! Perhaps it really was true then, that he in the urban prefecture could smell sauce, while he in the rural prefectures could smell udon. I'd never been to either, so I couldn't deny the possibility. But who would have thought that a single dish could permeate the everyday lives of humans to this extent? Even without looking at the face of the girl standing beside me, I knew that she was definitely snickering at me, so I absolutely refused to look. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys notice, perhaps, my sound is a bit different right now because I caught flu recently, and it's kind of changing my voice. Well, as my friends say, my voice sounded sexier, which is ridiculous. Anyway, I hope I get well soon. I mean, it's kind of hard to breathe right now. And if you do like this video, don't forget to give me some thumbs up. Click that little thumbs up button, please. Give me some love. I need love right now. Anyway, and also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, click that subscribe button as well and ring that bell so you'll be notified whenever I uploaded a new video. See you guys on the next video. Stay safe and bye-bye.